Cover story and the impact that Hurricanes Milton and Helene will have on this year's election. With 22 days left until the election, the question is the state ready for all those voters? Capitol reporter Forrest Saunders joining us live from Tallahassee tonight. And Forrest, with so many people potentially displaced after the storms, this could impact voter turnout.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. Now, the good news is, according to the University of Florida, as of right now, about 525,000 Floridians have already cast a ballot. So we are seeing some people vote. But the concern is there might be some out there that have the will to vote, but they just don't have the ability because of those devastating storms. Take a look. It's hard to think about voting.
There was a hot tub there, and it was filled with water.
When your life is in literal pieces.
It's my hot tub.
Thousands of Floridians facing that reality in the final days before November 5th after back-to-back major hurricanes.
How's your dad doing?
He's upset. He thinks he's going to go up to maybe Welland Park and rent for a year because it's going to probably be a year before this is. I mean, I don't know if you walked around by the water.
Entirely yet.
It's bad.
Florida's election supervisors now expected to ask Governor Ron DeSantis for more flexibility on state rules in Milton's impacted counties as soon as Monday. That's according to the association's executive director, David Ramba. He said in an email, quote, "We will likely have another request headed to the governor today."
We're ready to conduct an election for the voters in Hillsborough County.
That's as some election supervisors voiced concerns out loud during a recent press conference.
Well, I will tell you that right now that the Florida Supervisor of Elections Statewide Association is meeting. Our executive staff has been meeting, talking to the affected counties to see if there's some other relief that they may be able to request. So I would expect that there may be some further action at some point.
The Supervisors Association previously asked for help after Helene, and DeSantis responded with an executive order for 13 counties. It eased rules on early voting spots, poll worker training, ballot mailing locations, and drop box deadlines.
Ballots have been out for a while now, and the early voting, and depending on the county, will begin in a few short days.
Florida's Lieutenant Governor Jeanette Nunez told us she's expecting DeSantis to take it all into consideration.
We want to make sure that people have the opportunity to vote in a way that is safe and preserving the integrity of the election. So I'm sure the governor will be looking at that and addressing any needs if there are current needs.
Time will tell if DeSantis gets out the felt pens for a new order. Meanwhile, Florida Democrats pushing him to act ASAP. In a statement, Chair Nikki Fried specifically called for countywide polling locations like what was approved following Hurricane Ian. Quote, "We must ensure all impacted Floridians have the same chance to vote in this critical election." Okay, so bottom line here, we probably will see some kind of executive order in the coming days. That is all expected from everybody that I've talked to so far. That is despite Governor DeSantis not expanding the voter registration deadline, but he did leave the door open during a press conference before landfall of Milton, saying that he would likely do something similar to what we saw with Helene. So now it's just probably, Paul, a matter of time.
Yeah, a lot going on, obviously, in the state right now. Meanwhile, Forrest, as you know, people are still trying to get their power back on, their homes cleaned up, and there's this hanging question over how this insurance process is going to play out for so many people, especially for those who have the state-backed citizens insurance. I'm just curious, has the governor been able to assess that yet, and how this will impact the insurance market going forward?
What we're hearing from the administration is that going into this storm, the insurance market was in a better place than it had been in years, right? You had new insurance providers coming into the market. You had prices starting to stabilize. Some were filing for rate decreases in the coming year. So there was a lot of hope and expectation. We really just don't know how big of impact Helene as well as Milton are going to have on the market, if that's going to shake things up a little bit. As far as maybe a special session, I haven't heard those words put out there yet with regards to insurance reform, but we have heard about maybe condo reform. So if there's a need to maybe shore up the market in some way, that's theoretically something that lawmakers could do in those committee weeks leading up to session, or potentially when they come back for that organizational session after the election. I mean, there are a lot of different options here, but at this point, we haven't heard those words special session uttered anywhere near Tallahassee yet. So we're just going to have to keep waiting to see if lawmakers do anything and how the market reacts.
All right, Forrest Saunders joining us live from Tallahassee tonight. Forrest, thank you. All right, let's